All right, first question up for this week's coaching call says, I've been recovering poorly for the past few weeks. My squat's the only competition lift that is regressing. Track has been recommending a large decrease in volume for the past 4 days. Should we make any changes to my programming, or should I attempt to tough it out and adapt to the current training load? I'm feeling generalized pain in my thighs when I squat, which is causing my technique to suffer. I should also mention that I switched to sumo deadlift about 6 weeks ago, which may be contributing to the leg soreness. I'm really glad that you mentioned the recent switch to sumo deadlift. That's kind of a big deal. A lot of people get that sort of generalized leg pain when they're doing sumo. I know I did when I attempted to convert to sumo many years ago. And it did get to the point where it was affecting my squatting as well. If that's what's going on, and if that's the root cause of it, which seems like that's likely, especially if you had been progressing in this training style for a while before that, which you have been, I would say that sumo is the likely culprit. And in that case, we really have to remove the main issue. So I would reduce the amount of sumo deadlifting that you're doing until we get to a point where you can tolerate it. Now, it may require that you take a couple of weeks without sumo deadlifting to let that inflammation, let that pain completely dissipate. And then when you come back to it, sumo deadlift with about half the volume of what you're doing now. So if you're currently doing 2 sessions a week, cut it down to 1 session a week. The other session would be done conventional. Of course, that would be provided that there's no issue with training conventional. If there is, then you'll need to find some sort of alternative assistance movements and so on. I'd be happy to help you with that if that's the case. If you're currently doing sumo once a week, then maybe you would do half the volume sumo and then do the other half conventional. So similar sorts of ideas. Now, this doesn't have to be a permanent thing. Your work capacity will develop. Your ability to tolerate the sumo deadlift in general will develop. And so eventually you'll be able to return to a more normal sumo deadlifting style. But that's going to take months, probably. I wouldn't rush that process. Say you were doing sumo deadlift twice a week, that's leading to leg pain, so you're going to cut it down to once a week. I wouldn't really expect to go back to sumo deadlifting twice a week for at least 6 months, and it could be longer than that, depending on how long it takes you to adapt to the movement. But one of the first things that you're going to have to do is to get pain-free. So take a more significant break from sumo if you need to, but it sounds like it's just too much workload from the perspective of a sumo deadlift. So that will be something that you'll want to do a bit differently.